Alright, well here is my first voice on tutorial. It's not real much of a tutorial, it's just kind of an overview of what I did. This is more practice for me because I really want to do these things where I explain and show some of the things I've learned and what I do to make these short little fun scenes. It helps me learn, and hopefully it can help someone else, or they might have a better idea. But as you can see, my background here, I have my syndrome thing, which I used Video Copilot's orb and some tutorials I learned on YouTube on how to make nebulas and rings. And I also like making these screenshots for my desktops. So I have them rotating. I like them. That's all that really matters to me. Some other people like them too, so that's cool. But the first thing I want to show is this video that I made called Quantum, and it kind of has this, I got the idea of a mix between the quantum realm from the Marvel movies, and then saw the movie Annihilation, where they use a similar technique regarding the shape of this object, which is called a Mandelbulb, which is a 3D representation of a fractal. So if I pull that program up, it's a free program you can get called Mandelbulb 3D. It's free, you can play with it all day long and make some really crazy stuff. But basically it starts off with fractal information. You can see this Mandelbrot set here, and it calculates 3D parameters for it, shades it, lights it. You can color it, do all kind of stuff. And it's pretty neat. So basically you can animate between keyframes, you can pick parameters, zoom in, zoom out, flip around, change the numbers so these little shapes change over time. And then you can make yourself a little movie. But it's pretty flat, as you can see from here. It's just kind of standard looking. So I did this and exported it and imported it into After Effects, which we'll pull up here. So I'll show you what that looks like. So we got this guy. I did it with a blue background, so it's easy to take the background out. Blue screen, simple thing. So to start, you can see the guy here. It's kind of normal. You see it moves in and out. You can see the change over time, which makes it organic, look really neat. So the first thing I did, of course, was key out the background. If I show my transparent layer, now I have a background back there. So it's kind of cool. And then after that, I ran quick curves on it to give it more saturation and depth. And then brighten it up a little, give it a little bit of a magenta tint because that's what I want my background to look like. It almost has a fluidy environment, and so I like that color for it. And then added a star glow. Bring up these tints here to make it, again, give it more volume as a feel that there's light around. It's a bright environment. Next, in the scene, I have my background. Now, my background, I used a gradient style. It's like 4-point gradient style colors. It has like these kind of cloudy looking things, and it animates over time. And then I added some color correction to it so that it matches my foreground object. So you can see they blend well color wise. But I wanted this to have more volume in the space, so I added 2 other objects. It's basically single frames of this thing with blue backgrounds so that they look like they're in 3D space. So each one of these guys, I just keyed out the blue, added some blur, so it looks like we have a shallow depth of field, which is cool. Next, I added this little null object, which you'll see this little square here. What this guy does is it twists over time to match the rotation of the pretend camera going towards the Mandelbulb. And what's attached to that is the background and these objects, so it looks like the camera is rolling. And then on top of that, or actually underneath that, I added some bubbles. I call them bubbles. These little guys moving around right here. And this just gives, again, more volume fill. We're in a space. We're in a subatomic space, and there are things in there. We know vacuums are not truly empty anymore. So we want to kind of show things happening. They might not be scientifically accurate, but they look neat. So I add some bubbles to the front, too, so they pass in front of the object. You can see them in these dark areas. The bubbles go in front and the back. So again, giving volume. Now, since what gave me this idea to use this fractal was from the movie Annihilation and the alien scene, well, spoilers, but the Mandelbulb that they use, which is a real similar concept, had a kind of glowing mouth thing on it. And I didn't want to go quite as far as the movie did, but I wanted to add something. So I added a nice flare that follows this center mouth looking thing. And it starts off here and it gets brighter over time. So it's more intense. Then after that, I decided to add more color and other effects. The first thing was called Heat Wave. What this does is it kind of blurs out certain patches, again giving that kind of macro feel of not having perfect focus because the focus level is so tight. It's a small thing, but it looks nice. Then I also did a little bit of camera shake. It's very subtle, but it keeps the camera movement from looking too perfect. One thing with VFX stuff is that when it looks too perfect, it looks fake. So the less perfect it looks a lot, the more real it feels. Add another curves to kind of brighten it up, and some more saturation up here in the front with the vibrance from Video Copilot. And last, on this part, I added Chromatic Aberration, which I really like. This helps give a wider field of view slightly for a more macro type feel. And what Chromatic Aberration is, it basically is the breakup of light in a prism style effect. It breaks up the RGB colors. And you can see here on the edges how they turn from just a regular coloring to this kind of red, green, and blue. And it does it mostly on the edges. Again, it gets a feel of immersion, which I really like. After that, I added another adjustment layer because I like making it look cool. So we added a Looks, which is a color grading thing from Red Giant, because I wanted to add a little more contrast and some colors in the shadows. And I pulled the magenta back up with another curves, so it still had that hard magenta feel, which I really like. Now, on top of all of this, I decided, of course, I had to have my title, which I like putting these here because these are like little bumpers that I like making. And so we have our word there, and then we hide that layer because we link to it. I use Video Copilot Saber, so it will render. Where's it at? Down here somewhere. Oh, I got to turn it on. So Saber renders based upon the text layer, and it has all these cool functions, and you can change all these neat things about it to look like different things. It was originally designed to kind of make fake lightsabers type stuff, but it's actually really neat on text. You like change all these settings, there's all these kind of crazy parameters, and it's all blown out right here, but they look really neat when you mess with it. Change that back to what I had it. And then, of course, you can't leave it as is, it's too crisp. So I added a little slight blur so it feels like it's in that field of shallow depth of field, and added a little glow so it stands out a little bit. And the cool thing about this plugin too is you'll notice it writes on the letters. You have like a start stop from nothing, it traces them on, which is really neat. And you can trace them off, it's all animated. Then after I did that, of course, you have to add your 235 boxes on so it looks like it's straight in a movie. This is what it ends up looking like when we're done. All this stuff added. And if I go to here, this is the final product with edited in Premiere and added music to go along with it. So again, bringing the feel. It's all about the feel. The music is very important when it comes to that. So I really like making this, and like I've only been playing with this fractal thing for about a day and a half. There's so many things you can do to this thing, and the math is just crazy. And so I've had to look online to find resources, and then it actually includes some of its own that you can actually go pick some settings, and it makes pre-made calculation parameters to give you different type of looks. And so you pick things like this, and I can stop that and go pick another crazy one. And some people have written their own, and they're easy to find online, so you can kind of learn what they're doing by mimicking what they're doing. That's the way I learn the most, is by mimicking other things until I make it my own. That's how I've learned the best. Let's see what this guy looks like. It says it's slow, which means it probably has a lot more calculation parameters. Well, it looks like a future space city. The point of the story is that it's fun to play with. I hope to get around to making some more fun, space / microcosm style fun animations. But I want to thank everybody for watching who decided to. This is the first time I've ever done this. I really want to do this more often. If you have any suggestions or any questions about what I did or the software, feel free to ask in the comments. And I hope my voice doesn't sound like total crap, because it does to me, but not everybody always agrees on that. But thanks again, and hopefully I'll have some more of these.